The Congressional Task Force investigating July's attempted assassination of Donald Trump will hold its final hearing this morning with testimony from the acting director of the Secret Service, Ronald Rowe. The agency's previous director, Kimberly Cheadle, resigned 10 days after that shooting. Democratic Congressman Jason Crow of Colorado is the ranking member on the task force. He joins us now. He also is an U.S. Army veteran who served in both Iraq and Afghanistan. Congressman, thanks for being with us this morning. So just under 2 hours from now, we'll get a lot of look inside this report, a 5-month investigation. A, thank God, unsuccessful assassination attempt on Donald Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania. What do you expect to hear today?
Well, good morning to you. This is the completion today of our 5-month investigation. This is going to be the most thorough and comprehensive accounting of what happened and what didn't happen on July 13th and then a month later in West Palm Beach, Florida. It is an astonishing breakdown on many levels. That is what we discovered during our investigation. I learned in the Army that the essential components of any operation, whether you're talking about law enforcement or military, is training, communications, and command and control. All three of those broke down in really a catastrophic way in Butler, Pennsylvania. So we're going to hear the testimony from Ronald Rowe. We're going to press him on what we discovered, and we'll see what he says about next steps and how the service is going to reform this.
One of the things we heard in the immediate aftermath, Congressman, was concerns over staffing, that there just weren't enough men and women to cover all the shifts, to cover all the buildings that needed to be covered to protect not only Donald Trump, but all the people under the protection of the Secret Service. How much of a factor now, 5 months after investigation, do you think that was, that staffing at Secret Service fell short?
It's undoubtedly a factor, right? We are in an environment now where the threats are higher than they've ever been in our lifetime. Threats against members of Congress are 4 times what they were just 5 years ago. The same for our presidential candidates. We have foreign adversaries, countries like Iran threatening current and former officials and taking action to harm them. At the same time, transparency in how we campaign has changed from a decade ago. Candidates are actually out a lot more, conducting more events, conducting larger events. Our campaign season is longer. So at a time where the Secret Service hasn't fundamentally changed, both in its structure, in its training paradigm, and its resourcing, the environment that it operates in has fundamentally changed. So that does call for, in my view, a major resourcing shift.
So, Congressman, obviously there's a new administration coming in, and one of its key promises is to really cut the size of the federal government. We know Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy have a whole task force dedicated to that. Are you concerned that some of their cuts may be to agencies like the Secret Service that could put lawmakers' lives in jeopardy?
I am concerned about that, but I actually think that's asking the wrong question, right? We have this tendency in Washington to talk about, the top line of funding bills. How much money do we need to throw at a problem, or how large should an agency be? That, in my view, is the wrong question. The question should be what needs to happen. How does an agency need to be structured, and how much funding is necessary for it to accomplish its job? So in the case of the Secret Service, this is a no-fail mission. Right? The Secret Service is protecting our nation's highest elected officials. It cannot fail. So you have to start there, what is necessary to accomplish that mission, and then you work backwards in terms of how it's structured, how big should it be, what technology is necessary, and what the funding is. But you don't start with the funding.
So, Congressman, let me ask you, as I mentioned a moment ago, you earned a Bronze Star for your service in Iraq and Afghanistan. You obviously know what good leadership looks like in the United States military. What's your view of Pete Hegseth at this moment as a potential Secretary of Defense?
Well, there are just so many things to say about Pete Hegseth. First and foremost, he is unqualified for the job. I mean, this is America's largest and most important department, right? It protects our country. It's on the front lines every day against numerous threats facing our country. It's an $800 billion budget. It's 3.4 million people, 2 million of whom are uniformed service members, our sons and daughters deployed in 70 different places, stationed in 70 different places around the country. You can't just be some random person that Donald Trump likes walking off the street to run this organization. And then on top of that, the allegations of sexual abuse, of alcohol abuse, his disparaging comments about women in combat. I mean, listen, as we're sitting here having this call or having this discussion this morning right now, there are thousands of women in combat outposts, flying helicopters, flying fighter jets, operating advanced systems, protecting us on the front lines. And these women are hearing the message that this man who says that they shouldn't be doing these jobs is the nominee to lead that agency. That's just unacceptable.
So, Congressman, also you've expressed concern about the potential nomination of Kash Patel to lead the FBI. What are your concerns?
Yeah, it's a little bit different concern with Kash Patel, and that is his threats, his outright threats, repeated threats to weaponize the FBI, to take it from an organization whose essential function is to protect America and to enforce our laws, right? To enforce our laws domestically, prevent crime, to train and support local law enforcement. That's actually a role that not a lot of Americans know the FBI does, that it provides an essential function to train and support and resource and provide intelligence to local law enforcement agencies, you know, our town sheriffs and police departments around the country. To take it from that and to turn it into an entity whose primary focus would be enacting retribution on Donald Trump's perceived enemies, that is what he has said he will do, would make us all less safe. So, you know, he, again, should not be in this role.
Democratic Congressman Jason Crow of Colorado, thank you very much for coming on the show this morning.